This is Eddie Silva for the SLSO blog, and I'm here with our president and executive director, Fred Bronstein, in his office. And not only did the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra go to Carnegie Hall on November 4th, but on the same evening, Fred was at the White House for their celebration of classical music. Fred, thanks for taking the time.
Happy to do it, Eddie.
Was this your first time at the White House?
It actually was my first time being invited to the White House. I will tell you, when I told my mother that I was going to the White House, and she said, her reaction was, "Well, that's nice, but you've been there before. We took you there."
On one of the tours?
On one of the tours, that's right. And you were like, don't you remember? You were like 8 years old. He said, "Yeah, but it's not quite the same thing."
You had a different entrance system.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Well, what were your impressions?
Well, I mean, it's unforgettable, really. I mean, to be invited for something like that. But first and foremost, as I was walking in, I was struck by, I mean, you're struck by, obviously, it's remarkable in a way, but also how accessible it is. What was the way it struck me, that it's really here, and you really can just, go here.
It really is the people's house.
These are real people, and people citizens get invited here for various things, and that's really quite something if you think about it.
And
it's as I was walking in, the woman in front of me, because people were kind of coming in at different paces, and she just turned to me and she said, "How cool is this?" And I just said, "It's pretty cool."
Yeah. Well, it's especially cool that it was a day that was given over to classical music.
Right.
I mean, there was a day of master classes.
That's right.
And with students, with Josh Bell and Sharon Isbin and other folks.
That's
and
right.
What was the value of having that educational element as part of the day for classical music?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I loved about it. The fact that it was obviously focusing on classical music, and that in and of itself is extraordinary. And one of the comments I made to the president was that, it's wonderful they're doing this, and then really it's been probably way too long since, something like this has really happened in the White House. And with this kind of seriousness and purpose. But the education component was really hugely important, and I think we all, obviously, with the St. Louis Symphony do a lot of education, and it's really important to what we do. So it's close to our hearts, but I think that it added the dimension of kids, youth, vibrancy, the importance of music touching kids, how it impacts kids, and I think that's an important message. I think in the whole exercise. Plus, it was just wonderful for the kids that were there. All these kids that came, that were able to during the day, actually, not the concert at night, but during the day, to work with Josh Bell and Sharon and these other folks. I mean, it's an extraordinary experience.
Yeah. What to you is the importance of having a day that's given over to classical music at the White House? I mean,
I think it's hugely important because, again, I think that the whole message of this is accessible. This is not something that's inaccessible. This is something that has meaning for everybody and touches everybody. And we know that because we do it and we live it, and we see our audiences, and we see new audiences come in particularly with some of the new things that we're doing. And it's not some mysterious thing. I mean, it is something that all people can really be moved by, given the opportunity. And I think so putting it in that context in a way, and giving it equal footing with they had a popular music day, they had a Latin music. I mean, it's great that it's a jazz day. They're doing all of these things, which I think is fantastic. But the fact that, classical music got its day as well, hugely important message, I think, and really inspiring. And I mean, as in the few minutes that I had with the president, it's the point that I said to him, that this is how important I thought it was that they were doing this, and why I thought it was important, and how it had been missing, I think, for a long time.
And what
you probably have to go back to the Kennedy White House for the importance. It isn't to say that there haven't been performances in the White House, but with that kind of emphasis in a way.
Yeah. I'm thinking of images of Pablo Casals performing.
That's right. In fact, I'll give you a little piece of trivia as well. One of the pieces on the program was the last movement of the Mendelssohn D minor, which Awadajan and Alyssa and Josh all played D minor piano trio, and there's a very famous recording of Pablo Casals and Mstislaw Hoszczewski, the pianist, and I think it was Alexander Schneider playing the Mendelssohn D minor at the White House during the Kennedy administration, and there's a famous recording of it actually.
Wow. Well, this, November 4th was a very special day for the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra.
Yes, it was.
We were at Carnegie Hall. You were at the White House. But say something about how this reflects upon not only the orchestra, but on the city of St. Louis itself.
Right. Well, I mean, one of the things that I always say, and I can say this in a way because I haven't lived in St. Louis my whole life. I've been here not quite 2 years, but I am continually struck by the quality, the level, the depth, the breadth of the cultural institutions here. And I mean, obviously, the symphony is one of the leading institutions in the region, but there are other great institutions as well. And I think that disproportionate to the size of the community in a way, and these are tremendous community assets. And so I think it makes me very proud as a St. Louisan to two things: to have my orchestra playing at Carnegie Hall annually, and to have that kind of presence, and to be as respected as it is, and for us to be represented, in a day like this at the White House. I think it speaks really volumes about St. Louis, and in terms of what this city really is culturally and what it means culturally, and I think that's just a terrific thing. And my only regret was that I couldn't hear the orchestra at Carnegie that night. I always hate to miss a concert, any concert, but particularly a concert like that.
Well,
but I had a good excuse.
You know what? I was going to say, you're either going to go to Carnegie or you go to the White House. I think we understand.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Fred, and thanks for representing us.
Happy to do it.
All right.